Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek, which we still don't have a logo for. All the lore to fill your week was suggested by one of the viewers. I kind of like that. All the lore to fill your week. What do you think, guys? I think that works. For the first time in a very long time, I have an entire... I don't know if you can see it. There we go. I have an entire page worth of notes here for Loreweek. It's quite large. It's quite large. And, I think the last time we had this was when there was another, like, E3 style announcement, so shrug, as they say. I am going to ramble a little bit right at the beginning here, mostly about Nintendo Direct. I know that's a weird thing to start on, but I have so little to actually say about what Nintendo Direct actually mentioned this week that I feel that's a good thing to just kind of filler the beginning, you know? So let's filler the beginning here. Let's just filler that. Let's take a timestamp. Let's have our pen run out of ink live on camera. That's always great. There we go. Let's see. Just kind of rapid firing these. They're making a Pikmin side-scroller game for the 3DS, and I mean it's a side-scrolling platformer. They're making a Monster Hunter turn-based combat RPG, which is really weird. I don't know even what to make of that. They're making... We actually already knew about this, but there's going to be a Miitopia game. It's a Mii RPG, and I do have a small thing to talk about that, which is the fact that this is a weird combination of familiarity effect and yet not properly realized. See, here, let me put it to you this way. Let's assume... Yes, headache is gone, by the way. Thank you, everyone, for asking. So let's assume for a moment that you had the ability to make an RPG where you could basically import friends, family, loved ones, characters from other games, you know, people you are familiar with, people you care about, you know, familiarity effect, right? You know, so let's say you were able to bring in people and play as them as your party. That sounds cool, right? I mean, I can't be the only person when I was playing, you know, Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy VI, I would rename the party members after my real-life friends and family. I can't be the only one who's doing that, right? And so the idea is that you basically get to do that just one step farther because you're importing their Miis in. Or, you know, famous Miis or just Miis you design, whatever. It's basically character customizer and the ability to do it for people you know. So it's a neat concept, it just doesn't go far enough because a Mii of someone isn't really going to be that someone, right? It's going to be a weird kind of a face because you know how Miis look. It would be nice if they went like one step further with this and finally made a single-player RPG where you can fully customize like the full appearance setup of everyone. So imagine like, you know how we all spend like an hour on character creation? Imagine if you could create like all sorts of different... Oh my god, Preacher. Patience, man. Patience. Imagine if you could sit down and... Oh, by the way, someone asked about the Star Wars trailer. Take a drink. Yeah, it's XCOM. It's exactly right. Imagine if you could sit down and actually customize every single party member in your character, like you can in, say, Dragon Age or Mass Effect or whatever, or Oblivion, except you're customizing every party member so you can actually make all of them like your friends or family or just random characters or whatever you want to do, right? I think that would be pretty neat. But this is like one step away from that. I'm actually interested enough I might pick up Miitopia. We've also got Shadows of Valentia, which is the latest Fire Emblem. Now, I haven't played... Echoes, Fates, or whatever the heck it's called, the most recent one prior to this yet, so I don't actually know what I think of that. The most recent one I've played is Awakening, but it did look interesting. They actually showed several battles and a lot of terrain, which is kind of a big thing for me. It's slowly become a flag I've started carrying when it comes to tactical RPGs, is terrain. There needs to be terrain. And I like that. I like that they're showcasing that. It's the Kirby 25th anniversary this year, and of course, naturally, keeping the string of the last few years of terrible anniversaries, we're having, like, terrible anniversary for Kirby. There's, like, a free-to-play game, which, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a port of an existing free-to-play game. Then there's a puzzle game, which is basically like an adaptation of a previously existing puzzle game. And then there's a as-yet unannounced multiplayer game. And that's what they're doing for the Kirby anniversary. And that's freaking it. I mean, really? Now, granted, I am actually a fairly big Kirby fan. Most main Kirby games I either like or love, and there's quite a few I've even really enjoyed. In fact, I loved Planet Robobot, which came out recently. I highly recommend that, by the way. It is a ton of fun. So, I'm just like, what the hell, guys? But as usual, Nobody cares about anniversaries except for us. They spent like 10 goddamn minutes on the ARMS game, which I can't even begin to care less about. I mean, okay, ARMS, yeah, it's cool. Here, I won't demonstrate it because I don't want to, but you know, it's like, yeah, I'm hitting people with my arms. Just hang on, you know, I might as well just do this properly because I have the Switch right here, you know. So it's like, yeah, this is so fun. I mean, there's nothing to it. It's just you have your abilities and you have the ability to punch them, and it's like I don't care. I don't care at all. I really don't. No, turn off. Turn back off. Go back into your thing. Come on. Nice and easy. There you go. So yeah, they spent forever working on ARMS, which I don't have anything to talk about. It is disinteresting. I'm just... the only thing I have to say is that I'm amused they spent so much goddamn airtime talking about that frickin' game. They didn't even mention Mario, which granted isn't coming out to October. Or anything else, for that matter. Oh, that's not true. They spent a decent amount of time on Splatoon, too. I'll get to that last. Then they talked about Minecraft. Now, okay, Minecraft's on everything. I mean, I could literally play Minecraft on my phone if I wanted to, but Minecraft's on the Switch. Yay, I don't care. I mean, now, in fairness, actually, if I'm being completely honest, I would rather play Minecraft on the Switch than I would the phone. You know why? The Switch has an actual controller. Have you ever played Minecraft on the phone? Now, I have, because my sister owns it on the phone. And it's one of the most irritating things in the universe. I played it for like 5 minutes and decided, screw that. The frustration factor was just way too high for me. Oh, yeah, sorry. There we go. But I was just like, what the crap? This is stupid. And so playing it on the Switch, if I wanted mobile Minecraft, that is probably what I would do, in all honesty. There's two... also, the thing that irritated me, though, is they were talking about Minecraft like we've never heard of it. Like they were describing, you go through a procedurally generated world and craft up to your limit. And it's like, we know what Minecraft is. We know. It's been around for years. Everyone knows what Minecraft is. People who have never actually played video games know what Minecraft is. Come on, guys. You don't have to describe Minecraft to us. 2 new Sonic games coming out, one of which is Generations 2. They're not calling that, it's called Sonic Forces, but it is Generations 2. And you know what? Call me an outlier, but I liked Generations. Hell, I liked Color as well. So, and I liked half of Unleashed. So I'm at least tangentially interested in Sonic Forces. And then Sonic Mania, which is a new side-scroller Sonic, which actually does look pretty good. There's some backstory there about development and what went into that. I don't really feel like going into this because it's just kind of rapid-fire. But, yeah, cool. I'm actually with that, so I will probably buy both of those games. They're making another Dynasty Warrior games that I don't even write the name down of. Again, they had to describe to us what a Dynasty Warrior games is, because Lord knows we've never played a Dynasty Warrior games, right? They're coming out with a version of Monopoly on Switch because Monopoly is omnipresent and also boring. Yes, I said it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just an elitist schnob, but I like real board games, not American board games, or whatever the hell the proper term is for, like, Risk and Monopoly and Trouble. Those aren't board games. Those are board simulators. Elitism. Actually, I do have a small topic there, if I may, just really quick. Ever since this isn't related to Nintendo Direct, but ever since I was introduced to what I now refer to as real board games, I actually used to play those games a lot. Monopoly, I used to play all the time. Checkers, chess, Parcheesi, Trouble, Sorry, Risk. I used to play those all the times. And then I went to, here on Ghost and Tran. And then I went to play, I forget the first one, actually. It wasn't Settlers of Catan, the default board game. But it was something, and it was a real board game. I can't remember what it was, but I fell in love with it. I was just like, oh my god, because there was more. There was more depth, there was more complexity, there was more... It engaged me more. And I was like, yes! And ever since, I have fallen in love with board games, tabletop games, and that kind of thing. And I loved it. And so I have since tried, legitimately, without elitism, without, joking or whatever, to go back, and I play, like, Risk or Monopoly or one of the older ones, and it's just like, this is, okay, whatever. So, Monopoly's coming out on the Switch with fancy graphics, whoop-de-doo. There's a new Rayman game coming out on the Switch. I'm actually not a fan of the Rayman series, but woo, that we're getting some Rayman love. Rayman doesn't get a lot of love, so that's awesome. Last thing to talk about, probably the thing that interested me most personally, there's an RPG coming out that's a new IP. It's on the 3DS called Ever Oasis. It's coming out on June 23rd, and it looks good. It looks like a weird cross between Harvest Moon and Secret of Mana or something. And I'm at least interested enough that I'll probably go ahead and pick that up at some point and go ahead and play through that. So, woo! That's it, Nintendo Direct. I was actually rather disappointed with the Direct overall. It was a lot of not news, despite the fact that the Switch has sold ridiculously well, given its library. The Switch still doesn't have a library. That's okay, I still have faith. Nintendo has literally never let me down on this with one of their main consoles. They have literally never not eventually produced a good library with regards to their consoles. But as of right now, the library still looks like 3 games. Oh, I forgot to talk about Splatoon. Sorry, I forgot to talk about Splatoon. So Splatoon 2 is coming out, or Splatoon, if you prefer. It looks good, actually. It actually does look legitimately fun and enjoyable. It looks like, it looks like they're adding new game modes, which is important. It looks like they're adding, yeah, absolutely for the Wii U. In fact, there are still Wii U games I don't own that I need to buy, because the Wii U actually has a very large library for me. So yes, even the Wii U. Anyway, so yeah, the Splatoon 2 looks like they're adding new game modes, they're adding a new single-player campaign. It looks like they're focusing on it, and they're actually trying to push the arena thing, you know, the multiplayer, I don't know what to call it, the Dota thing, you know, the League of Legends thing with it, and esports, that's the word, God. And cool, I'm with that as long as they're supporting it. I'm with it. Oh yeah, sorry, someone asked about Star Wars. Take a drink. It looks fun. Also, I don't know how many of you know much about the lore of Splatoon. This isn't really a spoiler. I'm just going to be talking in generics, but the lore of Splatoon 1 specifically, is actually really, really dark and really horrible. It is literally a post-apocalypse game, for those of you not aware of that fact. And Splatoon 2 looks like it's getting even darker. Even from what they've already shown us, we are actively getting to the point where things are getting worse. And there's this undercurrent of the fact that the world is actually slowly degrading around this, we gotta go splay stuff with paint, but meanwhile the world is actually dying around them. This is not a joke, by the way. This is not me making it up or trying to feel too much of it. This is the lore of the game and the setting. And Splatoon 2 is doubling down on this because, well, actually, it's funny you say that, Darkrai, because that's debatable now that we know some things about Splatoon 2 and the fact that things are continuing to get worse. It may actually not even be post-apocalypse. It may actually be still in the process of the apocalypse. And we're just on the tail end of it. Anyways, that's actually all I have to say about Nintendo Direct. There is one other thing I want to talk about. I have a gigantic list of stuff to talk about, so I'm just kind of zooming through stuff here. Let's talk about the NES Classic. For those of you not aware, they are discontinuing the NES Classic. For those of you also not aware, the NES Classics have been selling like hotcakes. Now, this can and has been debated, but there is absolutely 100% no denying that from Nintendo's perspective, I want to make that clear, they are selling like hotcakes. Every NES Classic that has been released has sold. They have a 100% success rate on the NES Classic, and that's insane. Now, you're probably looking at me like, well, why is that relevant? It's relevant because they're discontinuing something that has thus far been selling very, very, very well. Oh, someone asked about Star Wars. Take a drink. You know, you guys, don't get hyped, okay? I have very little to talk about Star Wars, okay? Seriously. Don't, okay? So here's the thing. I decided to do some digging on the NES Classic situation. And it boils down to two possibilities, and it might be both. First is legal. The first is plain old legal reasons. For those of you not aware, most of the ROMs that they used are actually emulator, from the internet ROMs. I'm not going to go into details. You can look into it whenever you want to if you actually care. The bottom line is they actually did use ROMs rather than original files because they didn't have original files. And that means they're kind of acknowledging the fact in a sort of legal precedent kind of a way that emulation has allowed history to be preserved rather than lost. Because, hypothetically speaking, if we hadn't been making, Yes, Preacher! Oh my god, dude! Calm! Peace, man! Peace! I have an entire page of news to get through this week! Peace! Darkrai! I'm gonna slap all of you guys. Channel's going into mute mode. I'm kidding. But seriously, chill, guys! You were like this yesterday, too. Chill. Now I've lost my train of thought. For those of you not aware... Exactly, Lurker. Because emulation has literally allowed preservation of old material. Now, we know that. We have brains. But legally proving that... I've said this so many times. Reality and legality are two separate arenas, right? Proving something in reality and proving something in legality is two completely separate worlds. But now, as a result of this, the possibility... Note my words. Do not put words into my mouth. The possibility now exists for legal precedent for the ratification of the benefits of emulation. And Nintendo's been very anti-emulation from the beginning, which is funny in its own right, but... Okay? So that's the first possibility for why they're discontinuing the NES Classic. The second possibility, and I think this is, even if it's both possibilities, I think this is the stronger one. So for those of you not aware, Nintendo didn't actually manufacture the NES Classics. It's not in-house, is what I'm trying to say. Not like they do with most of their consoles. They outsource to some other company, and that other company actually throws together the Linux shell and puts together the case and the control and all that fun stuff. There are rumors. I want to stress that word, okay? Big ol' asterisk. You know what the definition of a rumor is, right? There are rumors that that other company, or companies, as the case may be, who were looking at the situation and seeing how well the NES Classics sold, started asking for more money. Basically said, well, you contracted this limited print run. We know they had a limited print run, right? It's like, okay, we're doing this. Gong, there we go. Okay. So, if Nintendo came to them, when Nintendo came to them and said, yeah, we want to order another batch, they could have said, well, the price has gone up. So, yeah. Either way, the NES Classic is being discontinued. Let me go ahead and be blunt. If it had been... No, Palpatine. If it had been available, I would have bought a NES Classic. Because I like the idea of being able to legitimately own something. And that is actually my mentality. I like the idea of legitimately owning something, and I like the idea of encouraging companies to continue doing stuff like that. I can't, on an official level, talk about emulation or the benefits or detriments of it, because it's one of those topics that everyone's afraid to talk about, and with good reason. However, the idea of encouraging companies, especially Nintendo, to be able to release so much of their content, so much of their SNES games, so much of their NES games, and their N64 games, and their GameCube games, and their Wii games, the Wii U games, in a accessible environment, is appealing to me. It's the exact same reason that I bought FF13 on the PC when it came out. You remember that? I talked about that. Oh, within hours of the news, the price has doubled. There's the one on eBay and whatnot. It's the exact same reason I bought FF13 on the PC. I was like, here, look, here's my money. Take note of this. Note that this is selling. And continue this. And with FF13, it worked. Square has been slowly moving more and more and more into the PC environment. More and more games coming out of the PC. Awesome, it worked, it was worth it. I have never even installed FF13 on the PC, nor do I ever plan to. I don't even like FF13 that much. I mean, it was okay. I just don't feel like replaying it. But I bought it just to push that. And yeah, I did it day of. And I would have done it with the NES Classic too, if it had been available to do so for that reason. The fact that it sold so well, I guarantee you, is something they're taking into account. I just don't know what they're going to do with it. My hope is we're going to see more virtual store stuff. We'll see. I don't know. Now, I have 1,000 other things to talk about, but because everyone won't shut up about it, let's talk about Star Wars, what little there is to talk about. And I'm going to phrase it that way because there really is truly little to talk about. And that's one of the reasons why I have been quietly frustrated about everyone constantly asking about it. So, there was a Star Wars teaser. Let's utilize our terminology very clearly and very correctly. It is a teaser, not a trailer. You might say, what's the difference? A teaser is, hey, we're coming out with a movie. And that's all its purpose is, to remind you that the movie exists from a marketing perspective. A trailer is, we're trying to sell you on the movie. Trailers are longer, trailers show more, trailers tend to spoil more. And I don't just mean plot points, although historically many trailers have actually spoiled legitimate plot points. What I mean is a trailer spoils more. A trailer violates the no mentioning, is what it does. Because, and as my good friend Gary has pointed out, there's only two things you put into a trailer. Meaningless comments that sound good, trailer fodder is actually what's that comment called, so irrelevancy, or cool action sequences, which then basically spoils it for when you actually see it. Because I want to actually, again, it goes straight back to that no mentioning thing. The whole point of no mentioning is not spoiling it, because spoilers has to do with plot points or twists or whatever. But no mentioning has to do with, I don't want to know that there's this cool level. Like, if I said, don't spoil, I don't want to use anything for real, but I'm going to make up a game called, what was that stupid game I made on the Game Maker game when I was streaming that? Game Boy Hero. So let's say I'm talking about Game Boy Hero, okay? And you say to me, no spoilers. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I won't spoil any of the plot twists, but there's this really awesome level where you go zooming off into a volcano as you're going over it, and it's really cool. Now, I have just spoiled you for that. Not spoilery, but no mentioning. That is the whole point of the no mentioning concept. Because now you know there's this cool, awesome volcano level, and your reaction to it will not be genuine because you know it's coming. That is what trailers are designed to do. They are designed to violate the no mentioning rule. Or actually spoil things. Right? And so, by default, I don't like actually following trailers all that much. I mainly only do it at this point in time because it's my job. That's also why I wanted to... By the way, speaking of which, we're going to be talking about this, so if this violates... I know at least a few friends of mine and people I know have actively been avoiding the new teaser because they don't want to violate the no mentioning rule. And I'm with that. So this is your big time to mute me or silence me or whatever, because, what I was going to do it last, so it'd be nice and easy for everyone, but whatever. First of all, before we get into this, we need to talk about the AU. Now, I have been tangentially following the AU. I'm not interested in it. I don't actually know how to explain why. I liked Force Awakens a lot, actually, and I liked Rogue One. I've liked what little I've seen of Rebels. I just have so little interest in reading into the AU books. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm just utterly uninvested in it. So I haven't actually been reading every AU book. I haven't actually been following every AU comic. What I have been doing is reading summaries and kind of following along with the overall story and trying to keep up with what's going on thematically and narratively. This is officially getting into things that could be considered spoilers for Star Wars AU. This is your warning. I think I still have this on this screen. Nope, that's a cool image, but that's not what I wanted. No, that's that's not it. That's not it. Hang on. Why do I not have this right at the top? Hang on, just give me a minute. Give me a minute. Where the hell is it? Did I move it? Give me a minute. Just patience. There it is. There it is. Found it. Okay. Okay. Just making it super obvious here, okay? Super obvious. One of the things that has been very clear in the AU thus far is they're being more organized than the EU was. Now, let me go ahead and say that I champion that idea. The EU didn't start out organized. It started out, you just had to run it by the Skywalker Ranch, and a few people involved kind of gave it a pass. And nobody was really keeping track. Nobody's really trying to keep things contiguous. Later on, Star Wars, in general, basically invented an entire department whose job was continuity. Whose job was to keep everything lined up between all the different authors who were writing up the EU. But it was never, now this is important, it was never designed to line up. They didn't go into that with intended arcs and intended concepts. They just, each writer was kind of writing their own interpretation. It's one of the reasons I mentioned that there's no defining the Force. Remember when we were going through KOTOR? I said we have to define the Force to really theory craft, but the Force is inconsistent. And I mentioned there was like 6 or so different iterations and interpretations of the Force, because each author has looked at it from a different perspective, right? The AU has been much more organized up front, a lot more front-loading in terms of their connectivity. They have pre-existing arcs, they have thematic directions they want to go in, and this is when we get into spoilers things right here, because one of the directions they're going in is the concepts of the Force itself and really defining the Force. So, for example, just about anyone who has read the EU knows about the concept of Grey Jedi, because it was a concept that the EU came up with. But very few of those people would say that the Grey Jedi are strictly George Lucas-y canon. Well, that's changing. They're moving very clearly towards having they're moving very clearly towards having actual continuity between the 3 sides of the Force as opposed to the 2 sides of the Force, or depending on how you interpret it, there actually are no sides at all. There's just the Force. Now, I have actually mentioned both of these theories at length, again, during the KOTOR lore run. But to summarize very briefly, the idea is either that there's the light and the dark and the in-between is where they meet, or the idea that there's just the Force and it is changed based on, like you using it mirrors it into the light side, that kind of a thing. It's stuff that we've actually kind of thought for forever from the EU, but they're actually specifically pushing for this in the AU. And this has been a consistent theme in Rebels and in at least 2 of the books that I'm aware of, and in Rogue One. They touched on this briefly as well, and arguably in Force Awakens. So I think I can officially get rid of this stupid thing now. The idea here is this seems to be an idea that they're pushing forward. Now, okay, so the reason I went through all of that is because it gives you my one and only theory about Episode 8. Because there's really only 2 possible theories, really, as far as generally speaking. Either Luke has given up, possibility 1, and, it's the end, I've fallen, or this is a move towards a new status quo. If you sit back for a moment, yeah, I know, Bradley. If you sit back and analyze Star Wars from a franchise perspective, from the perspective of making money, of doing more stories, and having more room to grow, establishing a new status quo is actually a pretty good way to do that. And I think from the out-of-character perspective of establishing a new status quo, and from an in-character perspective of the fact that they've been building up to that this entire time, I think they're actually going to remove the Jedi and the Sith and the light side, dark side dichotomy we've had for forever from Star Wars. So I don't actually think I can showcase this to you properly because of copyright. Copyright! When you just don't feel irritated enough at reality. But I did bother to grab this. Oh, no mentioning warning, by the way. No, that's the wrong one. Where is it? I know I grabbed it. There it is. Mute. Gotta mute it immediately. Hang on, I think it's improperly sized. Give me a moment. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, oh my god. Okay. The problem I really wish I could show you the audio of this, because I could do so much more with the audio than I can with the visual. Because there's a lot of good audio design in a lot of these scenes. We actually hear quotes from Obi-Wan, from Yoda, I think. A couple other characters in the background here. As we're going through this. And of course, you know, the broken, still smoking skull of Darth Vader's empty mask there, having recently been shattered. The light and the dark. Some weird place with a very old paper map. How often do you see paper in Star Wars? How's that for weirdness? Most of these scenes are very early in the film, clearly, so that's not too bad. This Christmas, yay. Star Wars is happening. Kong! All your favorite characters are back. Big explosions. Millennium Falcon's still awesome. Kylo Ren is still there. Nothing about Snoke, by the way. Big space battle. Woo, space battle. Now, apparently it's Kylo Ren's mask. Whatever. I'll have to go watch that again. Hang on. Like I said, I have so little to say about this. I feel out of my element. It's a weird feeling. See, the reason I automatically assumed it was Vader's is because of the eye. The eye's wrong. That eye looks very clearly as Vader's. I mean, I'll take your word on it, guys. It doesn't even matter if it's Vader's or Kylo's. But, I don't see it as Kylo's. I really don't. Especially since we see some of the mouth-breathing kind of parts there. So, you guys can believe whatever you want. I don't think it matters, again, whether it's Kylo's or whether it's Vader's. It's a smashed mask. It's the dark side. I mean, I'm assuming this is the Carrie Fisher stand-in. Now, speaking of which, I did see the Carrie Fisher tribute. It was good. I don't have anything to add to it. Probably the beginning, Mandarton. Hey, Hates Disney, what's up? Anyways, I don't have anything else to say. It's a teaser. There's a new Star Wars movie coming out, this guy, in case you didn't know. Woo. Moving on. I really have nothing else to say. Let's talk about Star Wars Battlefront while we're on the Star Wars kick, because people just won't shut up about it. So, they've abandoned Battlefront 1. Didn't that game only come out like a year ago? And they're doing a Battlefront 2, which they've gone out of their way to very heavily establish has two things in it: space battles and a single-player campaign, which shows that at the very least they paid attention to the most common complaints about Battlefront 1, if not any of the other complaints about Battlefront 1. So, woo? Okay, it's been 2 years, apparently, since Battlefront came out. God, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. I know they discontinued all support for it last year, at the end of last year, I should say. So, yeah, new story. It's going to be doing some behind-the-scenes stuff with the Inferno guys, which is related to Saul, excuse me. And there's something else I was going to add about that. Did I wrote it down a note? Oh, yeah, and all of the presentation. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. I have so little to talk about that I didn't even remember it, so it's like... I've also been really, really tired. Moving on. I actually got insulted recently on my show. Someone said, it doesn't matter if you're tired, you should talk less, and people would like you more. So, whatever. I am not interested. Let me just go ahead and make that blunt. I am not, like, day one purchase of Battlefront 2. But it is nice to see them moving in a better direction. We'll see closer to when it's actually come out. So, that'll be cool. It would also be nice if they showcase some of the better aspects of the Empire. I don't just mean better as in, you know, the good side of the Empire, but what I mean by that is actually go in-depth into the matter rather than what I imagine will be the typical story of a rebel within the Empire. Because if it's someone who is rebelling against the Empire, who just happens to wear Imperial clothing, that's not the good side of the Empire. That's not complex, that's not in-depth, that's not interesting. That's just a rebel in Imperial clothes. So I'm hoping it'll actually be the good side of the Empire rather than a rebel in Imperial clothing. Not much else to add. Woo! Don't mistake me. This is definitely a positive trend, but it's one of those, you know, is it enough situations. We'll get there, I suppose, when we get there. You know, I was going to talk about this after the Nintendo Direct. This is a very minor point, but I wanted to bring it up on Loreweek because I don't know where else to bring it up. Anybody out there... God, I'm tired. Anybody out there have their old SNES cartridges, or NES cartridges, or GBA cartridges, or PlayStation 1 discs, or anything like that? Anybody still have all those old things? I do. I mean, I've raised my hand on this. Yeah, I've also never been a big Battlefront fan. That's another problem. That's probably why I'm kind of meh. So there's this site out there called Retro Gamer, which I've used for a couple things in the past. I've actually talked about some of their products in the past. I want to talk about this. So, just to make it clear... Oh, it's really hard to see with the lighting. There we go. This is a Final Fantasy VI SNES cartridge box. Designed to contain SNES boxes. Now they actually have a few of these that are specifically designed to carry multiple different types of cartridges. I believe this one is specifically N64, Sega Genesis, and SNES. But they also offer a printing service, which is where that came from. This is actually a sleeve insert I put in myself, but you can just slide it in there, and it does have, you know, the old SNES backdrop thing there. This is actually a photoshopped version. This is basically a mix between FF6's art and FF3's back stuff. They sell this kind of stuff. It's pretty cheap, relatively. You'll be paying more for shipping than you will for the materials. I only got the one as a test, so this actually cost me $15. But of that $15, 13 or 12 of it, or something like that, was the shipping. It's good hard plastic, and like I said, it fits a number of different cartridges. They also have ones for, like I said, GBA, GameCube, a whole bunch of things. And for anybody interested in actually putting all their old console cartridges up on a shelf or whatever, this is nice. I don't know if they do shipping outside the U.S. It didn't occur to me to check because I'm a moron, and I apologize for that. If you'll give me a moment, I can pull it up really quick. I haven't smelled anything. Nope, smells clean to me. Also, one other thing, I actually got this about 2 weeks ago. The reason I haven't talked about it till then, so I used to make my own little insert stuff like this on just printer paper, right? And slide it into things like this. But anybody who's done that will know that after all, the ink from the printer paper will like stick to the plastic here and kind of come off, and it'll affect the appearance of it. So I bought this 2 weeks ago, put it in, you know, I've pressed it down, and I've just let it sit here for the last 2 weeks to see if any of the ink would come off and otherwise be bad. But it is good printing material and good printing quality, and it actually hasn't been doing that problem. So, so I just wanted to share that. One of the things I've actually wanted to do, it's been a pet project of mine for like 3 years now, is to actually have something other. So what I have right now is I literally have a series of boxes under my bed that just have all my SNES games and all my GBA games and all my GB games and so forth and so on. And they're literally just in boxes. I've always wanted to actually have a shelf displaying this kind of a situation. And this is how you do that if you don't have the original boxes, which is why I wanted to do like a PSA about it. So again, Stone Age Gamer is how you do this. Their site is kind of crap. However, their support is nice. I actually had a problem with them. I was like, hey, I ordered this. And they're like, you cannot select your order for that. And I went ahead and contacted them. And within a few hours of me emailing them, they responded to me, said, we've got the situation fixed. You can select your printout now. And I did. And it's right here in my hand. So, Stone Age Gamer, moving on. Oh, about 100 or so, Bradley. It's not actually that large of a collection. Let's talk, this is just a very brief update. Star Citizen is having a big patch soon for the game that's not even out yet. The Star Citizen is moving forward. They're trying to really emphasize two things with this upcoming patch: cargo and exploration. First of all, they're trying really hard to make it so that you have to really think about weight and not damaging your goods, cargo being tossed around, that kind of a thing. And all of the other problems that come along with carrying cargo. So they're basically making cargo, from what I understand, or at least the intent, I should add that, because the game isn't even out yet. The intent is to make cargo as a literal physics puzzle kind of a situation. How much can I carry, with what weight, what will it cost me in fuel, that kind of a thing. Which is neat if you're into that. It is leaning a little more towards the sim side of things than I prefer personally. If I wanted to play a space sim game, I would play Elite. Elite Dangerous, whatever the new one is. But shrug, I just thought I'd comment on it. The other thing is they're adding planetary exploration. At the moment, the ability to land on moons is going to be coming in, and the ability to actually run around and interact with different environments. To my knowledge, there's not a lot being added to the exploration right now. But there is going to be, actual purpose in going and landing on... Awesome's the one. On landing on planet. It's not going to be a No Man's Sky situation where it's like, you can land on all these planets and there's no reason to. So, that sounds awesome. They're also adding a huge, it's like a ridiculously huge list of stuff, which I looked at and I was just like, oh my god, really? So, it's funny to me how much is still being put into Star Citizen for a game that's been in development for years. And still isn't out. As ever, the ever-looming threat of being too ambitious is still the axe that is hovering over their neck. You're just hoping that they actually come out. When's it coming out? They don't even have a possible release date at this point, Corrales. They're just working on it. So, good on them, I guess. From a creative perspective, I like the idea that they actually are sitting down and are like, aha, we're making this big, amazing, epic thing, and we're not compromising. We're going to keep doing it until we're done, until it's what we want it to be. The only problem is, from a purely marketing perspective, that's practically suicide. In my honest opinion, they should be releasing a lot less information about Star Citizen than they are. Not to the people who've already put in money, don't mistake me. Transparency to funders and to backers is very important. But I really wish Star Citizen would stop trying to market Star Citizen, for God's sakes. Leave it lie. We get it. You're still working on it. Let us know when you're done. I've told this before. You tell me about a game that's coming out 2 years from now, and I just stop caring. It's like people ask me about Cyberpunk. Yeah, I'll be excited about Cyberpunk when it comes out. Probably like a month before it comes out, I'll be excited about it. Right now, it's not even on my radar because it's so far out. But anyways, I digress. A Thor trailer came out. An actual trailer, not a teaser, for Thor Ragnarok, which is also coming out this year. And looks... So, it looks good. Let me just go ahead and say that. I was already going to see it, but it does look good. It looks like they're bringing Hel, or Helia, depending on how you want to say that, into it. A.K.A., Norse, Hel, etc. H-E-L. And, what's funny is the majority of the trailer was just like, okay. It was cool. I was liking it, but it was just, okay. My excitement-o-meter was just right about here. And then right at the end, yes! It's okay, we know each other from work! That was awesome. And it was so awesome that even people who don't really follow the comics found it awesome. I've actually shown that trailer to several other people, friends online and people in real life. And the universal reaction has basically been, yeah, okay. And then, yes, right at the end. Because that was brilliant and awesome. But yes, for those who don't know, this is basically a pseudo-merger. This is the closest we'll probably ever get to a cinematic version of Planet Hulk, which, of course, was the lead-in to World War Hulk. I'm not sure if they're going to do a World War Hulk thing. But anyways, so yeah, we're doing that. That's cool. Planet Hulk was good. I actually liked that comic series. It's one of the very, very few Hulk comics I actually enjoyed. I'm curious how they're going to merge the Planet Hulk storyline, given what I know of Planet Hulk, into a Thor movie. I'm really, really curious what they're doing with that. So I guess we'll see. But you know they're doing this on purpose because every single freaking marketing stint, every poster, every thumbnail, everything everywhere that's marketing Thor 3 is a picture of the Hulk with the gladiator helmet on. You can tell where they're leaning with this one. Supposedly right at the beginning, Bradley, from what I understand. I don't actually have much else to say about it. It's just cool. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I could comment on Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I actually already have my tickets bought for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And we've also got Pirates 5 coming out this year, too, for that matter. A bunch of movies coming out this year. And, of course, Star Wars 8. I feel like there's others. I guess we'll get to them. Moving on. Looking at my list, God, I have such a huge list of stuff to talk about. But it's okay, because we're almost done, guys. We're almost done. You can stop listening to me soon, and we can play Stellaris. Hope you guys are ready for Stellaris, by the way. Anybody interested in playing Stellaris? Because we need to figure out some things with that. Let's talk about Star Trek. How's that sound? Is that a good idea? Should we talk about Star Trek? I like Star Trek. Anybody else there like Star Trek? Anyone? I mean, I'm kind of a Star Trek fan. Slightly. By the way, happy Easter, everyone. Or happy Holy Sunday, or happy Chocolate Day, or happy Bunny Day. I don't care. I don't care. Happy day. Well, we need to figure that out, Tigzar. Another news update came out about Star Trek Discovery. We'll start with that. And Star Trek Discovery, for those of you not aware, is the new show that has been having absolutely insane production issues behind the scenes. It got so bad that I legitimately put forth my opinion several weeks ago, actually probably a couple months ago at this point, that Discovery wasn't actually going to happen. Like, that they were just... that this was a Amazing Spider-Man situation. That CBS was only working on producing the show so they could hold on to the rights. For those of you not aware, you can actually... oh, it's bad news, Dark Ray. You can actually produce a work to hold on to the rights, the distributing rights or the licensing rights for something, and never actually release it. This has been done more than once in history, where you make a pilot for a show or a movie, and then never actually release it, just to hold on to the rights. I don't know if that's what they're doing with Star Trek. It feels like that. Everything indicates that that's the direction they're going into. Yes, Captain America has done that. Fantastic Four has done that as well, actually, just off the top of my head. And also, there was an attempt to do that. I can't remember what it was. It was another comic book thing, but it was a show, not a movie. So, I don't know if that's what they're doing. But there was a news update about Discovery, and it gave a few more details about the actual production of the show. Notably that the first season is intended to be 13 episodes. Now, yeah, me too, Lurker, unfortunately. Now, I don't know how much you know about the production of television or anything like that, but 13 episodes is not a lot when it comes to a show. Like, in fact, it is a very small amount when it comes to a season of a show, at least here in the States. I know that's kind of that British series do things differently. But let me actually give you a direct parallel comparison. So Star Trek Voyager, when it came out, I've talked about this on my Voyager series, had a very troubled production run, right? Very troubled. And so the first season of Star Trek Voyager was 16 episodes. Every other season was 26 or up. 26 is actually the standard. So... don't know what to make of this. That is bad. That's bad news. That is very bad news. There's another bit of bad news, Paul, that on the subject, and that is the fact that it's being marketed, and the writers and producers both have been saying that it's going to be a grittier Star Trek. Now, anybody who knows me knows that I actually do very much like dark stories. Final Fantasy VI is my favorite game of all time, and it is an immensely dark story. Babylon 5 is my favorite television show of all time, and it is a horrifically dark story. I love Deep Space Nine, which was a very dark Star Trek show. But dark and grittier are actually kind of different. Because gritty, well, the last time we heard someone market a new Star Trek that's going to involve grittiness was Season 1 and 2 of Enterprise. Now, in that point of time, they actually specifically said it would be grittier and more mature. And what we got was a lot of juvenile sex jokes and some unnecessary violence. I'm going to say unnecessary on purpose because it didn't add anything. It was just violence. Now, Enterprise was still kind of tame, mostly because of the era in which it came out. But you understand what I mean. When a marketing person, when a producer and a developer says grittier, they don't mean darker. They don't mean more serious. They don't mean more believable. They don't mean more down to earth. They mean cursing, violence, sex. This is what grittier actually means, translated from marketing speak. Maybe I'm weird, but I don't think Star Trek needs that. I don't. I mean, I am a prude. Let's just be 100% honest about it. I'm a prude, and I admit that. You can ask any of my friends, okay? I am a super uptight guy. But even if I remove my preference on the matter, what does that add to Star Trek? What does cussing, violence, and sex add to Star Trek? And again, I've already made my point. I actually nestled that point in my argument earlier because I mentioned Deep Space Nine, which was a more mature Star Trek. Genuinely more mature. Genuinely darker. Genuinely more in-depth. Really went into the darker side of Star Trek. Didn't need sex, violence, and cussing. Now, in the interest of total honesty, yes, I know that DS9 occasionally did try to add, sex into it. All Star Treks have tried to add sex into it. Most of the time it tends to fail, which I find hilarious because in many cases Star Trek tends to be sexy without trying to be sexy. I'm sorry. Beverly Crusher's hot, okay? But in all seriousness, though, DS9 already managed it. They've already shown that you can do that. Why do we need to... Well, I mean, of course I already know the answer. Yeah, exactly. DS9 even did it before we started the Dominion War story arc. Everyone thinks of Dominion War when it comes to DS9, and for good reason. It dominated 4 of the 7 seasons. But a lot of people tend to forget that DS9 was already on the path towards character-heavy, arc-focused, continuity-strengthened, deep, complex, dark stories before the Dominion were even brought up. One of my favorite episodes of DS9 is actually in Season 1. Duet, I think? Yeah, I think it's Duet. Season 1. That poor Cardassian. I love that episode. And it showed complicated storytelling. It was Duet, I'm right. That was a fantastic episode. And then, of course, we've got the Bajoran politics situation. Because the Bajoran situation was actually very complicated. We're playing Stellaris, Gary. Very complicated. Very in-depth. There were many layers. There wasn't a good guy. There wasn't a bad guy. There was just a lot of a mess. A lot of people all wanting to pull in different directions. And their saviors, who a lot of people are afraid of, and a lot of people are still worried about, and some people resent their presence. Some people say the Federation should just leave, but then the Cardassians are still right there. And the Federation, of course, isn't exactly the good guys here either, because the Federation didn't swoop in and save the Bajorans. The Federation spent years applying political pressure and economic pressure on the Cardassian Union in order to push them out slowly. And so a lot of people look at the Federation like, where the hell were you 20 years ago when we needed you? It was a complicated, in-depth, because I can't play Star Trek music because I'll get hit with copy wrong. Is this better? Star Fox. There you go. Enjoy. It was a complicated, in-depth, dark situation. It didn't need cussing, sex, or violence. Yeah, there was a Bajoran Civil War. Do you even remember that? I mean, I'm sure you do. It's just, it's one of those things that you kind of forget until it's brought up. Anyone remember the Klingon conflict? There, just for you. Now, some people in chat already said something that I think of. This is Game of Thrones related. People look at Game of Thrones and they say, wow, that's popular! And they bullet point syndrome it. They look at why it, they try to figure out why it's popular. And they're like, okay, right, so, let's see, there's a lot of cussing, there's a lot of sex, there's a lot of violence. Alright, boom, we've got a successful show. Now, I don't actually like Game of Thrones that much. But I will freely admit it's a coffee situation, because there's actually quite a bit of really legitimately good characterization, storytelling, and general plot development in Game of Thrones. But if you bullet point it, what makes Game of Thrones popular? This is actually why I call it bullet point syndrome, because it's just, okay, quick, we need to summarize why it's good. There, okay, we're good. Quick, take it to the bosses, say, here, this is why it's good. Alright, let's do that! Exactly that. Don't extrapolate on it at all. Just do it. Quick, go. Because it... I don't know if I've actually talked about this that much. One of the additional reasons why bullet point syndrome is so prevalent is because of the gotta strike while the iron is hot mentality. People who look at Game of Thrones, I'll just keep using it, or Call of Duty is my favorite actual example of this, but I mean, there's plenty of examples of this, really, across history. They look at something popular, right? They look at Grand Theft Auto 3. They look at Command and Conquer. They look at Doom. They look at Game of Thrones. They look at Call of Duty 4. There have been many examples of bullet point syndrome, so don't think I'm just picking on Game of Thrones here. But they look at something successful, and they say, that's successful now. And I'm already behind. So I need to put out something like that now. I don't have time to focus group. I don't have time to put effort into it. I don't have time to figure out why it's successful. Give me a bullet point, and we'll do that now. Because you gotta strike while the iron's hot. Speaking of Star Trek, I got this little bit of news from my mom out in Vegas. I don't know how many of you know how casinos are. I actually know a lot about casinos, how they work, how they function. Just a lot of that because so much of my family has been involved with gambling and casinos since before I was born. So, one of the things that's very common is there's the bulk percentage-wise of what tends to be in there is slots. Now, I say slots. No, Dark Ray, and I may never at this point. I don't care that much. I say slots. Slots doesn't actually matter that much anymore. Like, slots is kind of an outdated term. Most people think hung when it comes to slots. But there's a whole array of machines that qualify as slots machines now that aren't really. It's basically anything electronic you sit down at and play like it's a game. And they've been slowly developing more and more towards basically being video games that you pay for every thing. You know, they're practically arcade machines at this point in many cases. And a lot of people like that because it's more engaging rather than just hung, right? So anyways, there's a Star Trek slot machine coming out. And it's not... This is new, for those of you not aware. This is, to my knowledge, the first time, although I didn't do an in-depth analysis on this. So, to my knowledge, this is the first time Star Trek has ever been licensed to gambling. And so there's a Star Trek slots, you know, a video slot machine coming out that is already actually seeing testing and development in some of the casinos in Vegas right now. You're playing the Defiant, and, you know, get money, etc. I'm not actually sure what to say about that. I mean, on the one hand, like from a purely emotionally neutral perspective, I look at that like, okay, I mean, you know, it's just another licensing thing. It's not the first. There have been plenty of IPs and franchises that have been licensed to these kind of video slots things. But, this is CBS, by the way. I bothered to look in that far. This is specifically coming from CBS. CBS is the one licensing this, okay? Not Paramount. I want to make that very clear. So, yeah, Zawan points out the thing I was wondering if anyone would bring up. Star Trek gambling machines. Now, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, so I'm not going to bring up my opinions on Roddenberry until we get to TNG. However, the idealized Federation was this whole thing. No, Mandarn. The idealized Federation is this whole thing about we have moved out of our infancy. We aren't motivated by the desire for money anymore. And, you know, it's season 1 of TNG gets really, really preachy about anti-capitalism, basically. Just really, really preachy. They dropped that because Roddenberry stopped having his fingers in every pull, but they did. That was a big thing for all of season 1 TNG, and that was one of Roddenberry's big pushes for Star Trek. That was one of them. There were several others. And so we now have Star Trek being licensed to gambling machines. I mean, the irony of that is almost perfect. It almost feels like it was done on purpose, except I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that CBS has never actually watched Star Trek. And I mean CBS as in the whole company. There's probably like 5 people in all of CBS who've actually watched Star Trek. By the way, my mom played one and she said it was really boring. And she plays those regularly, by the way. She regularly plays video slots and that kind of a thing. There's a few she really enjoys. She also really likes to go play Texas Hold'em or various variations of poker. But I say that to establish the fact that from someone who actually enjoys that type of arcade machine gambling, she thought it was boring. Anyways, Star Trek gambling machines. God, I've been talking for over an hour. It's a long Loreweek. It's my last point, though. Yeah, it's a lazy, shameless cash grab. That would be cool, Bradley. I was hoping to play Overwatch today to look into it more, but we're not, so whatever. It's cool, though. That's my answer. Oh. Let's talk about our explorations. Now, let me just go ahead and establish that with my show, I've noticed in the last year or so that I have to look at things from 2 perspectives. The first perspective I have to use is my own. You know, whether I think something is valuable or enjoyable or entertaining or worth doing. Whether I feel like I am wasting my time or not. Because time management is actually very important to me right now because of my real life situation, which isn't getting better anytime soon. Unless I suddenly start making $600 more a month, which is not happening at the moment. So, time management, right? So it's very important for me to utilize my time very carefully. Now, I also don't have total control over when I can do what. I am limited to doing certain types of activities on certain days. Okay, you with me so far? So from my perspective, there's things that are worthwhile or fun or whatever, and then there's also the business perspective. Now, for example, I loved doing the roleplay sequence. I'll use a very obvious example here, the Fallout roleplay. Loved doing that. It was a great challenge. It was great trying to stretch my voice acting and my acting chops, and trying to... And I find something enjoyable about crafting a story like that within the framework of another story, because, of course, I don't have access to, you know, CGI renders or animation artists or motion captures or all the things I need to just make my own story, so I make my own story with the tools I have at my disposal, which in this case was Fallout 3, right? So that was cool. But it was... That's from my perspective. It was absolutely worth my time from my perspective. From a business perspective, it wasn't worth any of the time whatsoever. It was incredibly underselling. No one cared about it. None of my patrons cared about it, except for like 3. It was something that had to be dropped. That brings me to the explorations, which I do on Friday evenings. Now, I love doing the explorations. Explorations have been hugely beneficial. They have led us to some great content and features. I discovered, City Skylines because of explorations. I discovered Undertale because of explorations, a bunch of great stuff like that. So it's not like they don't have some benefit, but I still need to be thinking of it from the perspective of usefulness for the show. And my explorations don't get a lot of viewers, and my explorations don't get a lot of views. Now, I'd rather not drop that feature entirely. I'd rather not just abandon the explorations, especially since there's only a couple of other things I could do from Friday evenings, because I can't record during Friday evenings. I can only stream or edit. So I'm faced with a choice. We can either restructure the explorations or abandon them entirely. And I thought, since statistically speaking, explorations tend to be more interesting to my stream viewers than to my YouTube viewers, I thought I'd ask you guys live, because if I asked them, then they don't care, because they aren't watching them to begin with. Also, I have some ideas on restructuring, but I'm curious if you guys have any ideas on restructuring. Restructuring would involve either canceling Loreweek, the long-term streams, or Multiplayer Sunday, because it would involve moving explorations from Friday evenings to one of my other stream-available times, which is any time in the evening, or excuse me, that's not true, actually. All day Saturday and all day Sunday are stream-only time. Monday evening, Wednesday evening, and Friday evening are stream-only time. Now, stream-only time also means editing time. I could also just work on editing during those periods of time, but I cannot do any recording during those days, during those times. So, the only restructuring that can function here is moving it to Wednesday evening, to Monday evening, or to the Saturdays, and replacing one of the existing Saturday features. Now, you might be thinking, what do you mean by the scheduled streams? I've actually updated the banner up there. What I mean by scheduled streams is anything that I have that's in my own long-term streaming thing. I'll give you a great example. Yesterday was a scheduled stream. We played through The Wolf Among Us. That is a scheduled stream. That is something that is a long-term investment stream that is planned to do, that is planned well in advance. And that is what that means. So we would be abandoning, that kind of a thing if we were to put it onto Saturdays. Mondays I work on recording. Monday day I work on recording. Monday evening I work on editing. Wednesday day I work on recording. Wednesday evening I edit it. Friday day I work on recording. And then I stream until Monday day. Where notes. There they are. There we go. I actually have a list of long-term streams that are planned at the moment. Just to tell you what we have on the list right now, a full playthrough of Crusader Kings 2, and updating that playthrough and then taking it forward to a full playthrough of Europa Universalis 4, a full playthrough of Final Fantasy Type 0, the Back to the Future stream, which is actually already scheduled for next Saturday, a re-look at Wasteland 2, the Dark Souls 3 co-op stream, and that's actually it on the long-term thing right now. What would replace Explorations on Friday? Probably nothing. I would probably just use that as another editing slot. I cannot stream during Wednesday day, period. The only way... Okay, I know you don't quite get this, guys, so let me make this clear. I produce 4 to 5 YouTube videos a week, okay? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, occasionally Thursday, and Friday. In my week, I have 3 half days to do that in. Monday morning, Wednesday morning, Friday morning. That is the only record time I have. I cannot, under any circumstances, overwrite that. The only way I could do that is if I'm at a point where I have nothing I can record at the moment. So, for example, if you ever see me do a live rumination, it's because I'm building up to recording that. So, that's not negotiable. Not until I start making more money. Speaking of investing in that, while I've got you here. So, it's really boring doing editing work, so I usually tend to do something on the side while I'm editing. And I just thought I'd show you something I've been working on here. Not actually that far into anything, but while I got you here. The hard truth is, as much as I love streaming, and I do, let me make that clear, it does not pay the same as my features. And I'm getting to that point. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm staring at my explorations and thinking I should just drop them. Because I could be using that time to edit. I could use that time to work on my daily features for the YouTube side of things, because the YouTube side of things is where I make my money. I am not happy about that fact, don't mistake me. But I don't have a choice. I have no choice. I am powerless. I have 100% given up on Twitch partnership. That's not even on the list anymore. It's been gone. It's been off the list for a long time, being honest. Raskor, I know roughly how much money I make monthly from stream uploads. And it's not enough. It is nowhere near enough. So there's the Soviet Union. That's me. Whee. Check it out. So I actually started a match on whatever the earliest year is. I forget what it is. 760 something, I think. Anyways, and I started as these two provinces right here. Moscow, I forget what they called it, and the one right next to it. And I have since expanded to this. Oh yeah, let's get rid of the Voot thing. Sorry, where's the Voot thing? There it is. It's been fun, actually. Like I said, I haven't had a lot of time. I've only played this for like an hour or two. But, no, Poland's over here, Steve. Lesser Poland's right there. Although I'm working on it. I have the beginning of a Casus Belli there. There's also several Casus Bellis I have across this entire area. But I'm not pursuing them right now because I am on the verge of actually losing. Seriously, I am on the verge of completely losing. Because I need this territory right here. And my chancellor has been there for about 4 years, trying to make me a casus belli so I can conquer it. If I do not conquer that territory, then I will not own 3 of the holy sites and have sufficient moral authority to canonize, or whatever it's called, my religion. If I do not actually canonize my religion, I will not be able to change my succession laws. And I'm at Gavelkind right now, and in fact I am absolutely stuck at Gavelkind. And I have a large territory. Oh, and by the way, these are all my children. So, yeah. So if I don't take that territory, the Soviet Union's going to completely fall apart. Oh, by the way, I didn't actually mean to expand this far east. They were just like, hey, we're going to declare war on you. And I was like, okay, and I just stomped all the way over there. Yeah, so I actually can't. Check it out. I cannot declare war. All I can do is make tributary. I can't actually claim it. Yeah, by the way, I am 35, so I'm not right there. Oh, yeah, by the way, one of my ways of dealing with this was I also landed a lot of my children. Almost all of my barons, or counts, excuse me, are actually my own kids. So most of my vassals are actually my own children, as you can see right there. Yeah, see, the thing about that is... Can I do that here, actually? No, see, I can't declare war on there either, even though I do own the neighboring land there, look. So I can't advance there, and I can't advance here. So I can't actually get up there. Actually, I haven't been able to, friend Oka. So, I know about the whole I can claim a nearby province, but there's like some kind of rule about a nearby province rule that I don't know about. That's odd. What the hell's... Yeah, no, I'm quite well liked. That's not the issue. I've actually been doing really well. I had a really bad early problem with what is now known as Acaris here. Yes, I renamed Moscow Ice Crown, by the way. Come at me. Anyways, I had a really early problem because these two were one county, and I declared war on them, and then they nearly crushed me. And I had to basically bankrupt myself getting some mercenaries, which crushed them, immediately take down the mercenaries, and then just spent like a year, a solid year, financially recovering from that decision. Since then, I've been fine. If I raised a levy right... I mean, my armies are gargantuan. I have so many troops I can call on right now. I haven't even been raising my vassal levies, because I don't need to. I have a ton of military and economic firepower right now. In fact, I'm currently losing money because I literally just got out of a war and I am leaving my troops up. So the very second I can declare war, if my chancellor would give me a friggin' casus belli, I'm picking it up as I go, Zawan. I'm probably missing some stuff. Like I said, I still don't understand the casus belli rules particularly. Like, I can declare war on some places. In fact, I have a lot of places I can declare war on right now and conquer. I'm pretty sure I have a casus belli there. I know I have one for Smolensk. And I also have one for the entire county of like this area, Krevia or whatever. And I have most of a claim on Khazaria here. And I'm on my way to having a claim on Volga, Bulgaria. Also, I claimed Rus, the Kingdom of Rus, via the same kingdom rules. So I have, like, an idea of where exactly I can conquer. I can't figure out how to conquer there without my frickin' chancellor figuring it out. Diplomatic tab. There you go. Here's my diplomatic tab. Oh yeah, I'm also threatening. I'm at 22% threatening right now. Because I've been on a little bit of a conquering stint, trying to just sweep. So, yay. And we are apparently, we are actually that religion primarily. I don't know how to say that. We've got a few Slavic people, but it's mostly that. Well, okay. I hate to repeat myself, Tigzar, but I can't conquer the neighboring provinces. I don't know why. And because I can't conquer the neighboring provinces, I can't conquer my way in to then get to this to be a neighboring province here. See, I can't even conquer them. And so at first I thought maybe it was because I have a river in between me, even though that makes no sense to me. But I can't declare war on here either, and there's clearly no river in between me and them. So I really have no idea what's preventing me from expanding into Finland. There's another possibility. I could go way out here somewhere. Hang on, it's somewhere way out here. Is that it? Yeah, here it is. I'm sorry, it's actually right here. I could go after this spot as well. Actually, can I? Hang on, I could go after... Here we go. The Perm King. But I don't have a casus belli against him either, for some reason. So I can't declare war on there, and I can't declare war on there, and the other spot is like way over here somewhere, which is way out of reach. Does it say under me? What religion am I? I am Suomenusco. That's the one. I've actually been a pretty merciful ruler. I have been playing a good guy. In fact, I have this mentality of the fact that every time I conquer a province, we go way out of the way to take care of them, treat them like imperial citizens, kind of a thing. A lot of money has been dumped on infrastructure on almost everywhere we've been conquering. I've actually had to in some cases because of nomad agitation, which I'm still working on in some areas. But yeah, anyways. Yeah. See you around, Kamuruska. Anyways, so... No, actually, I don't want to save and quit. I just want to quit. Oh yeah, it's tons of fun, Bradley. I just hardly have any time to play it. So, Stellaris. Who wants to play Stellaris? I suppose the third option with Explorations is just to leave it as is, and just accept the fact that nobody cares about it. I mean, that is always an option. Truth be told, abandoning Explorations would only get me a small additional amount of time anyways. And it would only be time I could only use that time for streaming or for editing. Nothing else I could do at that time. I can't record. So it's limited time. It's one of the reasons I go ahead and stream during that period of time, because it's like, well, what else am I going to do? Oh yeah, I've also successfully gotten rid of all council power by the point I'm at. Completely removed the council from power. Took me a while, but it was actually, I knew what I was going for this time. I knew what I was aiming for, so I specifically set up my council with intent of people who really, really like me, and then just kind of every 5 years, get rid of a power, 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 get rid of a power. Then I finally had to bribe someone, and then just took away all council power, so woo. So, Stellaris, right. First of all, let's be nice and organized about this. Who would be interested in a multiplayer Stellaris game with me right now? Say Kefka or Lore Kefka, if you want to be interested. I need music. I recently grabbed the soundtrack from Spectre Knight, and it's awesome. Where is it? Has to be a capital L, Eric. That's 9 people. Okay, we can do that. Oh, hey, an actual ring world. Cool. So, of those 9... how many of you have Utopia? Yes or no? So Corwin does not. Wilson does. Zed does. Griffin does not. Braven does not. Zed does not. Eric obviously doesn't. He's not even on the game. Raskor does not. Lorimbus does. No, in Stellaris everyone needs it. Unless they've changed that, please feel free to inform me if they've finally changed that, because that is a ridiculous rule. It hasn't... Okay, so we ran into this problem before, where we all needed to have the DLC to be able to play multiplayer. They might have changed that since then. It's been a while since we've done this. But last I checked, it is not like Crusader Kings 2. I suppose I can look into it myself right now. Okay, I have an actual developer here who makes a comment here. This is very recent, too. Okay, apparently they have since shifted it. So, okay, apparently if I buy Utopia, you should all have Utopia. And there's some asterisks there that doesn't actually matter. So apparently that is now a thing where if I buy it, you don't have to. Which is good, because before that was really irritating. Capital L, Breacher. So, I have deliberately not bought Utopia yet because of that exact problem. But I will now buy Utopia. So, give me a minute here. And I now own Utopia. That is awesome. It was really a stupid thing. I mean, I get why they would do it. It's the same reason every company does that, but it was still frustrating. Oh. Am I still recording? I am. Sorry, YouTube viewers. I forgot I was still recording. So, for those of you at YouTube, feel free to, if you haven't watched this, weigh in on the exploration issue. Otherwise...